For 6 decades Tom Jones kept his silence. But now at 85, the Welsh powerhouse is finally ready to reveal what really happened between him and Elvis Presley. The truth? It's nothing like the world imagined. "I should have pushed harder," Jones admits, his voice cracking with regret. "Maybe I could have saved him." The boy who would become Sir Tom Jones started life as Thomas John Woodward in Pontypridd, a grimy industrial town where dreams usually died in the coal dust. Born June 7, 1940 into a working-class Welsh family, young Tom had 2 things that set him apart: a voice that could shake the rafters, and an unshakable belief that he was meant for something bigger. Even as a child, that booming baritone turned heads at family gatherings. Local clubs buzzed when the kid took the stage. But life had other plans. Tuberculosis nearly killed him. At 15 he dropped out of school, trading textbooks for construction sites and factory floors. He'd married his teenage sweetheart, Melinda Trenchard, and suddenly there was a baby to feed. Picture this: a teenage father, hands raw from manual labor, singing in smoky pubs after grueling shifts. Music wasn't just his passion, it was his lifeline. His only shot at escaping the suffocating predictability of Pontypridd. Then came 1965. "It's Not Unusual" exploded like a bomb in the music world. That infectious brass, that soulful delivery, it was unlike anything on the radio. Overnight, the construction worker from Wales became an international sensation. The hits kept coming: Delilah, Green Green Grass of Home, What's New Pussycat? Each one cementing his place among the giants. But Tom Jones wasn't just another singer. He was a force of nature. His concerts became legendary, not for the music alone, but for the raw, animalistic energy he brought to every performance. The hip thrust, the swagger, the way he locked eyes with the audience and made every woman feel like the only one in the room. Underwear flew onto the stage like confetti. Las Vegas came calling and Jones answered. His residencies in the late 60s and 70s weren't just shows, they were events. Celebrities, dignitaries and fans from every corner of the globe packed those showrooms, desperate to witness the Welsh wonder who sang like he was fighting for his life. Tom Jones refused to be boxed in. While other stars clung to their signature sounds, Jones shape-shifted through genres like a musical chameleon. Soul, R&B, country, gospel, rock, he conquered them all. When he duet with Janis Joplin, critics scratched their heads. When he recorded with Aretha Franklin, they finally understood. This wasn't just a pop star. This was an artist. The proof came in 1988. Jones, pushing 50, teamed up with Art of Noise for a bold reimagining of Prince's Kiss. The track was electric, dangerous, completely unexpected. Suddenly, kids who weren't even born when It's Not Unusual dropped were discovering Tom Jones. The man had done the impossible. He'd made himself relevant to a new generation without abandoning who he was. The 90s and 2000s should have been his victory lap. Instead, they became his renaissance. Reload in 1999 paired him with younger artists, creating magic across generational lines. But it was 2010's Praise and Blame that silenced the doubters for good. Stripped back, gospel-infused, raw, critics who dismissed him as a Vegas showman suddenly recognized what fans always knew. Tom Jones possessed one of the great voices of the century. Age didn't diminish his power, one reviewer wrote. It revealed new depths we never knew existed. Through it all, Jones remained anchored to his roots. When Queen Elizabeth II knighted him in 2006 for services to music, he accepted with characteristic humility. Sir Tom Jones, the boy from Pontypridd, had come full circle. But behind the accolades, a different story was unfolding. His wife Linda, the girl he'd married at 16, remained hidden from the spotlight. She was his anchor, his constant, the one who knew him before the world did. Their marriage would endure 59 years of fame, scandal, and unimaginable tests. When cancer took Linda in 2016, something in Jones shifted. He sold their Los Angeles mansion, kept only photos and memories, and moved to a modest London flat. It was her final wish: come home to Britain. At 80+, he found new purpose mentoring young artists on The Voice UK. His albums Spirit in the Room and Surrounded by Time revealed an artist still evolving, still searching, still surprising. But there were secrets he'd kept buried. Secrets about fame's dark side. And secrets about Elvis. The Tom Jones of the 1960s and 70s wasn't just a singer, he was sex incarnate on stage. 250 women a year, he'd later admit, the number hanging in the air like smoke. That's roughly one new conquest every day and a half. The math was staggering, the reality even more so. These weren't just nameless faces in hotel rooms. Mary Wilson of the Supremes shared his bed and his wild nights. Charlotte Laws, the TV personality, became another notch in his bedpost. Marjorie Wallace, Miss World herself, risked her engagement to race car driver Peter Revson for a taste of the Welsh tiger. But one encounter would haunt him for decades. Cassandra Peterson, who the world would know as Elvira, broke her silence in 2008. She was young, virginal, starstruck. What happened in that room, she said, was painful and horrible. So violent, she claimed that she needed stitches afterward. The revelation cast a shadow over Jones's sexual mythology. Was the legendary lover also a predator? Through it all, Linda stayed. Friends called her the quiet strength, the woman who chose blindness over divorce. She knew about the affairs, the groupies, the famous women who threw themselves at her husband. She simply chose to look away, holding tight to the boy from Pontypridd she'd fallen for before the world claimed him. But secrets have a way of surfacing. October 1987. A model named Catherine Berkery. A brief encounter on tour. 9 months later, a baby boy named Jonathan. Jones denied it, fought it in court, lost to DNA evidence in 1989. For 20 years, he refused to acknowledge his son's existence. When he finally admitted the truth in 2008, it came with a caveat. He wanted nothing to do with Jonathan. The boy grew up to be a musician himself, performing under the weight of his father's rejection. "I just want to know him," Jonathan would tell reporters, his voice carrying the same Welsh lilt as the father who wouldn't claim him. These were the costs of fame that no one talked about. The wreckage left in the wake of a man who could have any woman he wanted, and took most of them. But amidst all this chaos, one friendship remained pure. His bond with Elvis Presley. The mid-1960s. Two voices that could shake heaven itself were about to meet. Tom Jones was riding high on "It's Not Unusual." Elvis Presley was clawing his way back from Hollywood purgatory, desperate to reclaim his crown. When they finally came face to face, something electric happened. He walked in, grinned that famous grin, and started singing "My Song Back to Me," Jones recalls, his eyes still lighting up at the memory. Not competitively. Like a brother welcoming me home. What the public saw were two sex symbols, two voices, two egos that should have clashed. What actually happened was deeper. Two working-class boys who'd conquered the world found recognition in each other's eyes. Elvis from Tupelo. Tom from Pontypridd. Both had known poverty, both had been told they'd never escape it. Their friendship bloomed in private moments, away from the cameras and screaming fans. Long nights in hotel suites talking until dawn. Elvis would demonstrate his latest karate moves while Tom howled with laughter. They'd harmonize on gospel songs, their voices blending like they'd been singing together since childhood. Elvis would show up at 3 a.m., Tom remembers. Security would call, "Mr. Jones, Elvis is here." And I'd think, of course he is. The King's eccentricities became endearing rituals. His obsession with giving away Cadillacs. His need to surround himself with an entourage. The way he'd suddenly go quiet and vulnerable, talking about his mother, about loneliness, about the weight of being Elvis Presley. But Tom saw what others missed, or chose to ignore. The pill started small. For sleep. For energy. For the shows. By the early 70s, Elvis's medicine cabinet looked like a pharmacy. His inner circle, the Memphis Mafia, enabled every excess. They were on the payroll after all. Their job was to keep Elvis happy, not healthy. "I watched him change," Jones admits now, the regret heavy in his voice. The spark in his eyes started dimming. The weight piled on. Not just physical weight, spiritual weight. During their last meetings in the mid-70s, Tom tried to intervene. Gentle at first, then more forcefully. "You need to slow down, Elvis. You need real help." Elvis would laugh it off, deflect with a joke or a karate demonstration. "I'm fine, Tom. The king doesn't break. But kings do break." And Tom Jones was watching his friend shatter in slow motion. The last time Tom Jones would see Elvis Presley alive. He wasn't Elvis anymore, Tom says quietly, the memory still raw after nearly 5 decades. He was hollow. The man who walked into Tom's Vegas dressing room that night was a ghost wearing Elvis's face. Bloated, exhausted, his famous smile barely reaching his eyes. They embraced, but Tom felt like he was hugging a stranger. This wasn't the vibrant force of nature who'd sung his songs back to him a decade earlier. They talked for hours that night. Elvis rambled about his upcoming tour, about new gospel albums he wanted to record, about everything except what was really happening. His hands shook. He forgot what he was saying mid-sentence. The pills had won. "I broke protocol," Tom admits. "I grabbed his shoulders, looked him dead in the eye and said, "Elvis, you're killing yourself." For a moment, just a moment, the real Elvis flickered back. Vulnerable, scared, human. Then the mask slammed back down. He laughed, made a joke about Welsh people being too serious, changed the subject to Tom's latest album. "I should have done more," Tom says, his voice cracking. "Should have called someone. Should have refused to leave that room until he listened. But you didn't challenge Elvis. Nobody did. That was the problem." August 16, 1977. Tom was mid-tour when the call came. Elvis Presley, dead at 42. Found on his bathroom floor at Graceland, surrounded by prescription bottles. The king had finally broken. "I canceled the show," Tom remembers. "Locked myself in my hotel room and wept like a child. Not just for Elvis, for all of us who saw it coming and did nothing." The music world mourned a legend. Tom Jones mourned a brother. He mourned the late-night conversations, the gospel harmonies, the shared understanding of fame's brutal weight. He mourned the man who'd made him feel less alone at the top of the world. Now at 85, Tom carries that loss like a scar. Every time he takes the stage, Elvis is there, in the passion, in the performance, in the promise to never let fame consume him the way it consumed his friend. "Truth," Tom says simply, "is the only legacy worth leaving. Elvis taught me that. Even if he learned it too late." At 85, Tom Jones stands on stages where Elvis's ghost still dances. "Every show I feel him," Tom admits. Not in some mystical way. In the responsibility. The weight of survival. The Tom Jones who outlived his friend is different from the one who conquered Vegas alongside him. Elvis's death became a mirror, forcing Tom to confront his own demons. The pills Elvis took, Tom had been offered. The yes-men Elvis surrounded himself with, Tom had them too. The difference? Tom had watched where that road led. "I got healthier after Elvis died," he reveals. "Started saying no. Started protecting myself from myself." But the real truth Tom wants to share isn't about pills or fame or tragedy. It's about the man behind the myth. "Elvis was funny," Tom says, smiling through tears. "God, he was funny. He'd do impressions of other singers, including me. He'd nail my hip thrust and add this ridiculous growl. Had me in stitches." He talks about Elvis's generosity, not just the famous Cadillacs but the quiet kindnesses. Paying off strangers' mortgages. Funding surgeries for fans' children. Always in secret, always without fanfare. He was trapped by being Elvis, Tom explains. But inside that trap he tried to stay human. That's what killed him, the effort of being both a god and a man. Today Tom Jones uses his platform differently. On The Voice UK, he mentors young artists with hard-won wisdom. "I tell them about Elvis, not to scare them, to save them. Fame is a drug more dangerous than anything in a prescription bottle." His recent albums, Spirit in the Room, Surrounded by Time, carry Elvis's influence in their emotional honesty. These aren't the hip-thrusting anthems of his youth. They're the work of a man who survived what killed his friend, who chose truth over mythology. "You start to understand," Tom says, his Welsh accent still strong after all these years, "that the real performance isn't on stage. It's staying yourself when the world wants to turn you into something else." He pauses, that famous voice momentarily silent. Elvis never learned that. And it's the only truth about him that really matters. Tom Jones doesn't end this story in grief. He ends it in defiance. "Elvis died at 42, he says firmly. "I'm 85 and still singing. That's not luck, that's choice." Every morning, the man who once bedded 250 women a year wakes up alone in his London flat. The mansion is gone. The groupies are ghosts. Linda's photograph sits by his bedside, the girl from Pontypridd who loved Thomas before the world invented Tom. "She saved me," he admits. "By staying through everything, she reminded me who I was underneath it all." His son Mark, now his manager, helps navigate this final act. The son he acknowledged carries on the family business. The son he denied, Jonathan, remains a wound that won't heal. "Some mistakes," Tom says quietly, "you can't undo. You can only live with them." But on stage, something magical still happens. That voice, weathered now, deeper, carrying decades of joy and pain, still makes audiences weep. He doesn't move like he used to. The hip thrusts have given way to a statesman's presence. But when he closes his eyes and lets that voice soar, Tom Jones proves what Elvis never got the chance to. That survival is the ultimate performance. "Young artists ask me for advice," he reflects. "I tell them three things. First, the voice is a gift. Protect it. Second, fame is a job, not an identity. Third, when someone offers you pills to keep going, remember Elvis on that bathroom floor. His latest album, Surrounded by Time, feels like a conversation with ghosts. Every track carries the weight of outliving his contemporaries, Elvis, Janis, Aretha. They're all gone. Tom remains a Welsh monument to endurance. Truth is all we leave behind, he says, circling back to where this story began. Elvis left his music and his warning. I'm trying to leave both plus something else. Proof that you can touch the heavens and still come home. At 85, Sir Tom Jones has finally told his truth about Elvis Presley. Not the scandal. Not the gossip. The human truth. Two boys who conquered the world and only one who survived it. I sing for both of us now, Tom says simply. Every single show. The king is dead. Long live the voice.